The camera is now recording to the drive, just so everybody knows. It's not live, we'll upload it later, but it is recording conversations.
From that area. Yeah. It's not junk.
Now they gave me Liz, is it a PowerPoint? Yes. Okay. This is not like that's cool.
Are you still waiting for that?
Sorry? I just
I'm trying, yeah. Yeah, PowerPoint's taking a while to load.
Yes.
I hate to make you do that, but yeah, absolutely.
let's see if you get it if you can.
Yeah.
That one still crushes me.
There is, yeah. All right, so I'm gonna start with a blank screen. I'm just trying to open the file like from PowerPoint since it wouldn't open automatically in there.
Yep. Yeah. So.
Yeah, it's not showing up. Yeah, it's the CSC. I can open it, it just shows the URL.
Start the meeting.
We're after zoning, so we're yeah, it's not. I'll give you your.
Sorry.
I know, and to either one of you still have it, you know, yeah. Try that. Here's this guy.
Yeah, it was a big
Yeah. It's not.
Good.
Thanks.
I'd like to welcome everybody to the November
meeting of the Plainville Area Commission. Again, I'd like to thank the library for providing the community room for us. It was a good place to meet. I'd like to begin with one update. On the agenda, we have a discussion for the resolution that was introduced earlier regarding the city-owned property on Indianola, the Department of Water and Department of Electricity. I'd like to postpone that until December. I didn't get the resolution distributed in time, so I'd just like to move that conversation to next month. We'll wrap it up before the end of this session of the commission, one way or another. Or if there are any other changes to the agenda, if not, I'd like just to have a consensus that we'll move ahead with tonight's agenda as it was published. All right, hearing no objections, then I'd like, if I could ask people to please rise and join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. BJ will lead us.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
First on the agenda is the district reports. I'd like to begin to my left with Commissioner Moore.
Mark Morris, District 6. I only have one update. That is, I got contacted by a resident about the sidewalk. There's north of the BP station going to AT&T. And there's a gap in the sidewalk that has not been resolved. The resident has submitted a request to 311, but the 311 cases have been closed. So I'll follow up with the people from BP.
Josh Hively, District 8. No major updates. However, I am pleased to finally see some movement at our corner of Morrison High there. So development going on there. Hasn't been happening for a while. So, but other than that.
Commissioner Cole.
Hugh Kroll, District 4, nothing to report.
Commissioner Bolton.
Hi, Brittany Bolton, District 5. Just two announcements I mentioned last month, but I'll just keep bringing them forward. On Tuesday, November 28th at 6 p.m. in this room, we'll have our next meeting of the Task Force on Affordable Housing and Homelessness. We'll be talking about ADUs and accessible dwelling units and ways to house folks with disabilities and seniors. And then on Thursday, December 14th at 6 p.m. we'll be having a hygiene kit drive for the CRC, so we welcome any travel size goods, and you can feel free to email me. I'm happy to come pick them up off your porch between now and December 14th.
Great. Not much to report at District 1, very quiet. I would like to note the opening of the Yellow Springs Brewery and Tap House, which took over for the Crest. I think they finally opened their doors and open for business now. They might have a soft opening underway tonight, but it looks like they're open and ready for business. So new business in the neighborhood. We're welcome and happy about that.
Great.
Mr. White.
BJ White, representing District 9. It's my second to last meeting. So I did miss last month. I had a procedure on my knee, so I apologize for missing, but I'll go ahead and provide you with my lengthy district report. If you have that queued up, Brittany, there are some photographs I'd like to share with the attendees. This is not my district, but this kind of conjures up a matter that came up in District 7 when I was chair of the CAC, and now we're kind of reaping some recourse of the redeveloped tennis courts into a parking lot to the athletic fields. I was contacted by a resident of Indian Springs, and there are these two really big, and this is not parking lot, even though it's in the parking lot, it's not parking lot lighting, because among all the upgrades that you do nowadays, lights are now LEDs, which are very bright.
Which attachment on that, BJ?
It's the District 9 November report. It's called November 2023
Okay.
District 9 report. And now I've lost mine.
Here we go.
Okay, here we go. So, Unicode says that lights cannot be above, parking lot lighting cannot be higher than 18 feet. When you have it within a 25 feet distance of a residence, it can't be above 14 feet. And these two lights here are shining into the living rooms of people who live on Indian Springs, and that's not parking lot lighting. These are the parking lot lights, like back here that you see. We'll see some others there, but these are on the back of the scoreboard, and they are so high that they're filtering through the trees that are along Indian Springs and casting shadows even into the front yards of the people. Yeah, like that one. So I don't know how this is going to result, but they are very bright. If you go down to the third page, you'll see that there you go. Oh, go back, sorry. That's the side profile. And to me, that fence is probably 10 feet, I'm guessing, because a standard privacy fence is about 6 feet. And that looks to be about at least 10 feet. And that scoreboard is at least the height of the fence. I'm thinking that's greater than 14 feet. And that is shining into the people's living rooms. There's a resident that lives across the street, and it's not a very good picture because you're looking at her taking a picture of her front living room window at the light shining in, and you're getting a glare from that because you're getting her reflection from the window. But that's what it looks like inside her living room. And I, as a courtesy, since I chaired the CAC at the time this variance was approved, although, and you want to go on to the next page, it's just very bright. So I don't know how the city treats light trespass, but if ever there was an example of light trespass, this would be it. So I don't know, but I am working with that, and I have contacted the city about that. But that's where we are. So those lights, those security lights, are actually not downward facing like a parking lot light. They're actually angled. And I tried to take a picture of that sideways and frontways, but you just can't tell because of the glare of it. But that's definitely problematic for those who live on Indian Springs. So I just wanted to share with you, since this commission did approve variances for this project after they proceeded to change the tennis courts into a parking lot without permits, and then they went back retroactively and asked for those variances to be granted by this commission only after they received code citations. So I wanted to make sure to let everybody know that I'm working with them on this matter. And then we'll go down to the bottom of that page. I also attended on October 11th, I attended a big table conversation facilitated by Chair Botero, which is part of the citywide effort organized by the Columbus Foundation. The discussion centered around venues in Clintonville and shared resources for visual arts, live music, and a lot more. It was a fun, topical conversation. Thank you for that. I met with the business owner of Possum Pubs, located at the former Enterprise location at 5466 North High Street, concerning the impending code violations for diagonal parking spaces. And I thought, oh, I just happened to look at the pictures of Bishop Waterson's parking lot, and they have diagonal parking spaces, so. Not sure why it's okay for some and not okay for others, but they're asking him, he's dressed up that location. It's not an automotive industry business, which I really like. It helps diversify the commerce there. But he's dressed up that building, completely renovated everything. All he did was paint reseal and paint the existing spaces that have been there. And diagonal parking spaces have been there. I looked at historical aerial photographs. They've been there since before my occupancy in the neighborhood, which was 1999. So I don't know how they're coming down this guy for diagonal parking spaces. They're also asking him, which I do understand, they have put in a detached storage shed. And I remember that we approved the storage shed variance for Coma Mower. And I'm asking if they could work with a business owner to retroactively get him a variance application started for the storage shed. And then also dumpster screening. And I think many of you know that I reported earlier this year, maybe it was June or July, about dumpster screening. Now they're saying all dumpsters must be screened, which is really odd to come down on this particular business owner when you can walk out into the street and see exposed dumpsters to the left, to the right, across High Street. So apparently they have impending code violations issued to this guy, and they don't seem to care about all the other exposed dumpsters in the Clintonville area. So I'm working with him on that, and then you want to bring it down. And then I recently visited Kitty Bubble Cafe, who works with colony cats to find forever homes, and I adopted Miss Prana. And as a commission, we did approve a variance, a parking space variance for this business. And if you haven't been to Kitty Bubble yet, I mean, that's just a snippet of cuteness. She's about 14 to 16 months, but she is, that's me watching the Penn State game, and I couldn't cheer or anything because she's sleeping on me. But that's just a snippet of cuteness. And if you haven't been to Kitty Bubble Cafe, I would strongly recommend that you go. And then this afternoon, I'd already had this prepared. This afternoon, I was on High Street traveling traveling north, and it was just north of Hadler's property at Sunnyside Lane. There was a deer carcass there, and I reported it. And since I was driving, I just called and didn't text or anything, but I just called and spoke to Gina at the 311 center, and she said, it'll be removed in 1 to 3 days, which contradicts a lot of what we've heard in other meetings. And I said, are you sure about that? She says, yes, that's what my script tells me, 1 to 3 days. So 311 center says 1 to 3 days. So the clock is ticking, and I'll let you know how that works out in December. That's all I've got.
Thank you. Commissioner Piper?
Just add on to that, and I probably didn't pay enough attention. There was a deer carcass, I believe, on North Broadway earlier in the week too. I dropped my daughter off at school on Monday, or picked her up on Monday, but I haven't driven on that way since. So just putting it out there, so I didn't know if it was moved. Biggest news for the district, still been working with residents related to 201 West North Broadway, and just trying to make sure everybody's in agreement about what they think is the best opportunity to proceed forward, or let the developer know these are our concerns. And so hopefully we should have a resolution in the next few days so we can share with the developer, and if she wants to make it to the December meeting, we'll have at least hopefully all the neighbors' concerns who have responded back to me who previously had concerns about pushing it. So.
Great. Commissioner Wyman?
Mike Wyman, District 7. First, I want to apologize to the chair. I told him I'd be able to make it to that table discussion, and then as soon as I started to leave my office.
You were missed, but understandable call.
But I would like to publicly thank Creative Housing Incorporated. I got a call about one of their properties on Overbrook, an issue there. Unlike other companies, they actually have their executives' emails on their website, and I was able to email them the problems taken care of like that day. So I'm going to do that.
They'll be happy to know they're one of the panelists at the next Affordable Housing Task Force
Oh,
meeting
good.
on the 28th.
Eric Frenzel, their
It'll be-
COO.
Cree Buenconsecos, their CEO, will be presenting.
So that was, got that taken care of. And other than that, I don't have anything else on the board.
Great, thank you. Consideration of past meeting minutes. Commissioner Pfeiffer, I think you distributed those earlier.
Yep, distributed them, I got just a few initial feedback about some general things. I didn't have a chance to look over everything Mark had, just because it's a little complicated. I don't know, very minor details and change. It's complicated to get things pulled up quickly. Other than that, with some minor corrections, any concerns with approving the minutes?
I don't have any objection to approving them with Commissioner Morris's comments probably picked up that we post them. All those in favor of adopting, accepting the minutes as with that caveat, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, same sign. Motion passes.
I will abstain, please note my abstention, I was not here.
Move on to treasurer's report.
All right,
White.
I was sweating, because I wasn't sure. Sweat, are you here? There you are.
No.
I was sweating because I just got your email at 5:33 this evening, and I wasn't sure what I was gonna tell people. I'm like, they're just gonna think I'm asleep at the wheel. Do you wanna cover this in your update? Sure. Okay, I will defer to Swid, but if you're here and you have any outstanding invoices, I see you, Ryan. If you have any outstanding invoices, we do have ways of getting you reimbursed. So hang tight. We're flying by the seat of our pants here. So just hang tight and we'll get you reimbursed. And I'll defer to Swid during her updates. That's all I got.
Okay, great. Oh, for sure. We'd like to take one thing a little out of order if we could. We'd like to invite Ryan Fauché, who's the chair of our Quinville Green Spot Committee, to give us a brief update.
Okay, yes, real quick, just 1 or 2 minutes. Wanted to get in front of everyone today. I'm Ryan Fauché, the co-chair of Quinville Green Spot, or the Green Spot Committee. Because we have a public meeting of our committee Tuesday, December 5th, that's before the next CAC meeting. So 6 to 8 p.m. in this room. We're going to review the past year's work and set priorities for 2023. We already have 4 projects identified for 2023. We'll see if we get to all those or maybe more. And review a little history of the committee too at the meeting. So maybe any commissioners that want like a overview of where we've been and where we're going might be a good meeting to come to. Including our completed neighborhood plan. We had a plan that we finished during COVID, so that was just kind of missed a lot because everyone was at home. Real quick, some of our highlights from last year. The Fire Station 19 Pollinator Garden was nominated for the Franklin Park Conservatory's Growing to Green Harvest Awards in October. That's just for community gardens. Pretty cool to be nominated. We didn't win in any of these 3 categories, but hey, we got nominated for Community Garden of the Year, Sustainability Award, and Neighborhood Improvement Project of the Year. Just community gardens. But yeah, that was a really cool event, and it's good to be recognized. We had our Community Day event at Fire Station 19 in September, about 2 months ago, and completed plantings at the Ohio School for the Deaf Alumni Garden throughout the summer. And then just other initiatives. We picked up a lot of work with FLOW, Friends of the Lower Olentangy Watershed, and other groups, including tree giveaways, cleanups, food waste recycling, Earth Day, and then a lot of events here at Whetstone. Great, thanks so much.
Great.
See everyone in December.
Thanks again for your work. I'll move on to city updates with Department of Neighborhoods. Swid, if you could please start.
Good evening, commissioners, residents. Good to see you all. And I'm gonna start with my update, and I did make a note, so but prompt me if I skip right past interim fiscal stuff. So next week, Wednesday, the 8th, is the Neighborhood Leaders Dinner with the Mayor. So super short notice, but anyone who is able to, please, this is a celebration of the work, of the hard work and the hard work that you do as area commissioners. So if you're able to attend, please use the invitation link that was sent out earlier this week, RSVP for that. The final area commission training of the year will be the 29th of November at Front Street, and that is again a planning review training session. It'll be limited to 2 commissioners. If you already attended either the one that was hosted here in October, sorry, not in this room, but for Clintonville, or the one that was in August, it'll be duplicative. So don't attend again. Send potentially one of the newly elected or someone who hasn't been to the training previously. And again, these are optional. And I know that there are a lot of schedule conflicts. So if you have 2 people, great. If only one, fine. And if no one, also understand. Appointment forms. Thank you, Chair, and to the incoming commissioners. I think we should get them by today, and if not, I'll just follow up so we can get digital. Electronic signature is excellent. Thank you for taking care of that. Hopefully get them all processed before the end of November, so that's not waiting through winter holiday season. Neighborhood Best Practices Conference will be Saturday, December 2nd at Columbus State. Invitation went out via email from my colleague Gail at the Department of Neighborhoods. I think she sent that around the 27th of October. There's a QR code and instructions for registering for the conference. All that's on the attached flyer that she sent. Included in that is the 20 under 20 nominations. So if there is a young person who's been involved in Green Spot or in any of the committee work with the commission, an event that the commission had over the summer, anyone that you'd like to recognize, we really hope Neighborhoods would uplift a young person for that nomination. And again, on the invitation, there's a link to submit the nominations. And this week, next week, I think is the deadline for that, because we're going to print a plaque to honor that young person. Okay, so for fiscal, I got one update from Julia Carter, who handles the majority of our fiscal work. And right now, the only outstanding request is one that we submitted for reimbursement for the memory card for the recording of the meetings that Stephen Hardwick, Chair Hardwick, had submitted. Anything else should be an email to you and me for now, and then we will alleviate you of duties. And then I'll submit it. It goes through a smart sheet process. So I just need details of like how much, who is getting reimbursed. If it's a person being reimbursed personal funds, they'll have to complete a W-9. And I can always follow up to give all the details of what's needed. But I don't have like a balance, and I think everything's just in the process, is what Julia said. And I think it was maybe $42.99 was what was spent out of the total budget. If there's anything upcoming and you just want to help me anticipate, we can work on that ahead of time. And then my last update for commissioners is that I will be leaving the Department of Neighborhoods and transferring to a different department, so not leaving the city, but this will be my last meeting as the Northside Neighborhood Liaison, sadly. So David Bowie, my supervisor, will be the point of contact in the meantime. And again, my email won't change, so we will have a very smooth transition. You can continue to direct questions my way. My last day will be later this month.
All right, well, we'll be sorry to see you go. No sooner do we get used to you and enjoy your company. We'll move on to the Department of Neighborhoods as they see fit. And we all know David, so in the interim, we'll be fine. But wish you well in your position, and thanks for your time with us.
And for always answering emails. So super
Yes.
Thank you.
Officer Brown?
Yep. Good evening, Commissioners. I've only got a couple things tonight. The commercial burglaries on the 3 precincts are on the rise. Looks like they're being perpetrated by the same individual. They're breaking into convenience stores, gas stations, and stealing cigarettes. I work burglary in the throughout my 28 years, and we get these a lot. You know, they'll hit these locations until they get picked up or somebody tells on them. But it looks like it's going to be the same individual. If you've got the stats that I sent out to you, you'll see the last 4 locations. Residential burglaries are on the rise as well. I got a call from a citizen who is a member of a social media site for Clintonville, and some photos were being passed along the site on a suspect vehicle, and she sent me those photos. I sent them out to the patrol officers in our CRT team. So they're currently out looking for these suspects. Looks like they're breaking into garages, stealing lawn equipment, things like that. They're driving a blue or black SUV. Officers do have those photos. The only unhoused encampment that I'm working so far this month is on Orchard Lane. And I also brought some literature on the new phone texting law. So it's complicated. I looked at it. I have a hard time understanding it. I can tell you this. Reese Precinct has an officer that is very familiar with the texting law. He has been recognized nationally for his work when dealing with texting individuals in the city of Columbus, mostly Clintonville, because he works in Clintonville. He works first shift. So if you live in Clintonville, you're going to be driving through Clintonville, he's out there. I would suggest you pick this up and get familiar with the law, because he has a lot of tickets. All right. Last, I went ahead and made notifications to Clinton Elementary and Echo Kenwood, let them know that they were picked for the Shop with the Cop program this year. So they're in the process of selecting a student, and we'll make notifications to that student and take them out with Shop with the Cop. So. Good.
There were some concerns about some safety concerns at Indianola K-8 in terms of people on the grounds during school hours. I think they reached out to the Division of Police to sort of see how that could be managed, because it's a difficult thing, because it's a public site, but during the day when the kids are there, they have a more secure perimeter, and there were people that were kind of on the school grounds that didn't have any business during the day there. Was there did that filter through to you at all?
I think I did get an email on it. I haven't been able to respond to that yet. So I'll shoot you an email when I get to that.
Yeah, so similar at Dominion, Department of Neighborhoods uses Nextdoor and put out for residents in that area to keep an eye and to make sure that they report and they're reminded. So even if you're just walking your dog, you're needing friendly behavior, that they have a reminder that they are not supposed to be there during school hours. And we can do the same for Indianola and Kuwait. And I haven't heard anything further from either principal saying that there's been issues. So if anything comes to the attention of commissioners, please do share that.
Okay, great. Perfect. Thanks very much.
Officer Brown,
yes.
Did you get a report for a homeless camp near Tuttle Park?
Near which park?
Near Tuttle Park. It's next to
Tuttle?
Yeah. It's near the river and the Olentangy pipe.
Yes.
Right by where, is it the Hudson Street exit or the pool exit?
No, it's just by the pool. Yeah.
Yes, we have. My supervisor has one out. He's taking care of that. That is going through remission right now as we speak. So is that the 110th along the river? Yeah. So.
Great. Any other questions? Questions from the public at all for Officer Brown? Thanks very much.
Yes, sir.
We do have some people from the Division of Fire here. I don't know whether you have anything you want to bring to our attention, but since you're in attendance, I thought I'd at least offer.
We don't have anything specifically, but does anybody have questions for the fire department?
Are you enjoying your pollinator garden?
Love it.
Okay.
Good answer. Thank you. Thank you. Oh, yeah, we have from the Department of Neighborhoods, we have the New Americans Initiative. So we have a speaker here tonight. I'm sorry, please introduce yourself and your spouse. I think you brought your spouse tonight.
That's love coming in here.
Yeah.
Good evening, everyone.
Good evening.
It's truly a pleasure to be here tonight, and yeah, I'm here with my husband. I just want to say thank you to Swift for inviting me tonight to share with you my work, what I do. I'm from the Department of Neighborhoods. And my name is Lindora Howard-Diawara. I am the Community Relations Coordinator of the New American Initiative Program. I started in August of this year, and this is my first area commission meeting. And so I'm very glad to have come, and Catherine is going to be leaving us, but I'm glad to have Clintonville as my first, because I did meet with her and she told me a lot of good things about you.
But we're glad you're here.
Thank you. So, why the American Initiative? I want to talk a little about that. Lessons learned, opportunities, community considerations, and way forward, next steps. I'm just going to build that into different talks as I go along. So basically, it's just going to be what I'll talk about tonight. Who is a New American? People have different views. For us at the Department of Neighborhood, and a New American is an immigrant. A New American is a refugee. A New American is a newcomer. For some, they think a New American is an expatriate, someone who is a professional from abroad who comes here to work and decide to stay. For others, it's someone who comes in and decides they want to be an American. For others, they are aspiring Americans. But of course, some of these might mean different things to different people, because not everybody that's here wants the American citizenship. They are here for different reasons. One thing that is clear as we look around, whether Clintonville or wherever around the city or across the United States, the demographics are changing. A lot of people come in, heading until we get, yeah, it comes up. So folks are coming from Central America, West Africa. I'm from West Africa, Liberia to be specific. My husband is from West Africa, he's from Mali, another country. What might interest you is that Liberia was founded by freed slaves from the US, for those of you who know the story. And so Liberia and the United States have had a long historical connection. We even celebrated our bicentennial 2 years ago. So East Africa, Europe, Southeast, East Central Asia, East Asia, all over the world, people are coming here to find opportunities. That may be true for some, but for others, it's not necessarily to find opportunities. It's because they have nowhere to go. Because of war, they were forced out into a refugee camp. They've stayed there for almost 20 years, and someone is saying this camp cannot continue. We have to close it up. And to close it, you have to find a place for these folks. And so there are repatriation programs through which people are brought to the US. Some of them come with very little. They don't know the US, they don't know their former homes, they just come. Okay, so people are here for different reasons. So as per the current institute, we see over time from the 1900s up to 2000, that just shows a trend. You can just, so things are changing from the 1970s. First foreign-born Americans are noted to have been around 16,000 across Franklin County. And you see in 2016, 146,259. The trend shows that this is going to continue to increase. 146,259 foreign-born residents just in Columbus alone. Imagine across the U.S. It's growing. Through the New American, we have the New American Initiative Program at the department. We've dealt with individuals from 40 countries that speak over 100, that speak 100 plus languages. And as we look across Columbus, folks that are here, the main languages, the 5 main languages are Spanish, Somali, Nepali, Arabic, and French. Those are the big 5 of all of those that are here. New Americans in Columbus, that's just a snapshot. You will see that in terms of workforce, they are here and they're not just sitting home. A lot of them are working because you have to work to survive. You have to work to take care of their families. So through that, they have a spending power of $2 billion. Imagine what that does for the economy. And they're paying over $200 million in taxes. Some of them have businesses, some of them are involved with different stuff. So now, in terms of the New American Initiative, the program, I just came in since August. We are now talking about the importance of strengthening relationships because we think it is very important. And so strengthening support for New Americans across Columbus is something that we try to do through the program. You have that picture, some of you may have seen that picture before, is very familiar to a lot of people. So the reality, in terms of the reality and our objectives, what we're trying to do is to recognize that there are issues. The communities are changing. Some people like that. Some people are trying to deal with that. We want to recognize, include, and support those with the greatest need within our communities. The second thing when it comes to equality, we want to ensure that we create opportunities and protect rights. Thirdly, equity, we want to create access to adaptable and affordable services. And lastly, we want to, in terms of helping for people to feel more comfortable, more welcome, feel at home. We want to help build capacities and hold folks accountable and sustain the engagements. Our why. Again, I've talked about the changing demographics. Our households are changing, neighborhoods are changing, communities are changing, residents are changing. A growing Columbus, we have an unprepared generation of future leaders. The young people are looking. You know, some of them are watching, those that are coming, the younger ones, they're trying to adapt to different cultures. Within New American families, we are seeing cultural clashes between first generation, second generation, because the second generation folks are saying, well, I'm here, I'm an American, you're from there, I'm not from there, you know, and we see a lot of tensions, not just within the communities, but within New American families. And so the other thing is to also seize opportunities. You saw some numbers. People are contributing to economic growth. There's brain gain. A lot of us come here, immigrants come as professionals. I came in as a professional. I came to the US here in 2014. Why did I come? I didn't want to come to America, but I came because I had an opportunity to come and do my master's. Where? At the University of Notre Dame. I got my master's in international peace studies. That's my husband. I told him, well, I don't want to go. I have kids. I got to take care of them. And he said, there's a one-time opportunity. Go. That's how I came. Not because I wanted to come. So I came as a professional. And by being here, I think being here with my family, being here with my kids, if I call this place home, I need to figure out the system. I need to know who's here and work with everybody because we need to coexist. Okay? So seize opportunities, there's economic growth. So a lot of people, he worked with the United Nations. His contract just ended and he's here and already struggling to figure out where he can fit because a lot of the jobs he sees, he might be overqualified. So a lot of New Americans that are skilled, they have these challenges. Some of them drop their degrees and go and do odd jobs and do all kinds of things just to fit in. So it's a challenge, but again, this society, this Columbus is also gaining. Multiculturalism, cross-cultural learning, that you see around Columbus, there are a lot of different restaurants, different cultures. It's getting more beautiful for me. And there's innovation. We may not see it now, but we might just see it at some point. And then there's that common humanity, shared prosperity, how we make this home of ours better and more beautiful house. Next, please. So we have a flagship program called the New American Leadership Academy. Because we want to ensure that we identify folks that are within the New American community, step out, work with them to further enhance their leadership capacities, to work along with the city, work along with communities to deal with all of the problems and challenges that exist within communities. We think it's very important to take some time off to work with folks. So we have this New American Leadership Academy program that's called NALA. It runs for 8 months. And after folks graduate, we have a big family of NALA alumni. So far, we have a group of 19 that will be graduating next week on the 18th. 19 of them, awesome folks, different degrees, they have different degrees, they speak different languages. By the time they graduate, we would have about 140 members of the alumni network from 40 countries who speak almost 50 different languages. They are here in Columbus. Want to now say to them, you're from the Somali community, you're from the Kenyan community, you now know how the city works, you now know about the area commissions, you now know about civic associations, you now know about zoning, what happens, go back to your communities and help educate folks so that we have less tensions and stresses around dealing with conflicts within our communities. So that program is there. There are many neighborhoods, but one Columbus. So this is a picture that I guess most of you have seen. I heard someone talk about Columbus Foundation. They have this stuff, and they have a message for us. As community relations coordinator, why my role is important is to be able to help serve as that bridge between new Americans and the different communities and help provide suggestions to the department as to how we can create those necessary spaces that we need to meet in, to talk, to engage more, to learn about each other's stories. Well, how did I come here? You learn about me, I learn about you. Together, we understand each other better, and we can do things, we can do positive things together. So let's talk around different communities. People don't talk as much as possible. Within our communities, neighbors don't talk. Just few people talk. It's very important. When people don't talk, there are a lot of assumptions, and when there are a lot of assumptions, you have prejudice, you have stereotypes, and then you have crisis, there's this unity, then people get afraid of the other. And once folks are afraid, the cycle continues. So what Columbus Foundation tells us, and I like to use this sticker picture, is they talk about humankind. It's one word, but it tells us asks us to be both. Let's be human and let's be kind in terms of having empathy. So from all that we have done through the NALA program, the program started since 2018. What we have done now, we have about 140 persons coming up into the alumni network. We have some success stories. For example, we have Councilman Buwan, the first Bhutanese councilman, who is councilman in Reynoldsburg. He came through the NALA program. He came as a refugee into Columbus. He stayed, he learned, he did all he could do, and he ran for office and he won. One statement that I'd like to highlight here is that one of the NALA alum, Musa Kata from Somalia, said, Somalis like me are from a country where there was no government at the time I was growing up. As a new American, you don't know how this system was built and how you can be part of it. So I just want to encourage all of you, first of all, say thank you, but encourage all of you. We are all in the same space. People are grappling with different things. The more empathetic we become, listen to each other, be patient with each other. I know I went to I met one of the area commissioners, and by the time I introduced myself, he's like, yeah, we really need you. There are a lot of things around zoning. They don't understand this thing. And I said, okay, I get it, but what Papa is saying, if she came from a country where she knew no government, and boom, you end up into a place where everything's so organized that the street lights have to be this high. It has to be this bright, or else it disturbs your neighbor or the community member. And there is a government to ensure that that complaint is dealt with. A lot of us don't know those things. So we are here, we are learning. Please be patient with us. Thank you. Questions?
Just trying to make sure it captures everything. NALA program, it's an eight-month program?
Yeah.
And
it's a professional development program that runs for 8 months.
And usual time frame is March to October, November, it looks
like.
And so 2024 applications, it looks like it's up now, but.
It is, yeah, thank you for mentioning that. Yeah, we have an application up now, and it closes on the 17th of November. One of the things since I started that I've recommended to the director and my colleague whom I work with, Abdi Sophie, I'm not sure how many of you know Abdi, is to try to also encourage other Americans who are not new Americans to join the program, because it's multicultural. So like the current cohort, there are 16, the representatives, they are from 16 different countries. And just being in a room with people from different countries, you learn a lot. The good thing is that for this cohort, we have two folks that were born here in America. One is African American, the other is, he comes from an Eritrean American family, but he was born here. And he's a police officer, Officer Demsas Rede. So he's there, and they are the ones who are also helping others understand what you need to do. They help them understand what the police do. Work along in terms of with the communities to promote community policing. So it's been a very beautiful journey. And yeah, the applications are open. November 17th, it closes. But we hope to have a lot more people, not just new Americans, coming through the program, so we can have that very good mix. Because the idea is that once they go through the program, they then step back out into the communities as leaders and as ambassadors to help support the work of the commission. And also, we also anchor the importance of them joining area commissions. So a lot of the ones that are graduating now, that's my first cohort. I graduated from that program in 2001, and now I get to work along with Adi to oversee the work. All of them, a majority of them are saying, I would join my area commission. I would join the civic association. And I'm saying to the department, we have to hold them accountable. So when they join the family, the alumni family, we want to make sure that they get out there and start applying and get involved.
That's great. Well, thanks so much for your presentation.
Thank
Really
you.
good.
Thank you.
If people are interested, can they go to the Department of Neighborhoods?
And I also have my card to share, so.
Okay, great. Thanks very much.
I have links, I think, to the New American Initiative Program from the City of Columbus website, and then also the New American Leadership Academy. Because I think those are two links after the City of Columbus website.
Yeah, they're on the department. The city is transitioning now, but NALA page is already on the new site.
So I have it.
Perfect. Thank you. We're now up to the zoning and variance agenda. Drew Miller, you're filling in for Stephen. Thanks very much for doing that. He's traveling tonight.
And may I also insert my successor for District 9?
Yep, thank you. And I apologize, I understand a few of the commissioners maybe weren't receiving my emails. I've been using the commissioners at commission.org.
It's happening to
multiple.
It's a little glitchy, but.
Okay, all right. Yeah, so sorry for that, but I think Stephen probably forwarded what I had said. So. The first item up there, BZA 23127, is 3588 Indianola. The applicant and the architect who are here tonight presented a project that involves reconfiguring the parking lot of Indianola Plaza, which is where Wyland's Market is and Volunteers of America. There previously existed a shared parking easement between Indianola Plaza and the property to the north where the Avenue apartments are at today. That easement has since been vacated, resulting in a loss of 40 parking spaces and inefficient circulation within the parking lot that has caused issues, particularly for the Volunteers of America, with their truck routing there to the east at the rear of the store. The proposed project reconfigures the parking lot layout, adding back 21 parking spaces and additional landscaping. Originally, they had 276 parking spaces. It decreased to 236, and this project will bring it back up to 257 parking spaces. The first variance regarding trees was approved by a 5-2 vote, with some members expressing concerns about a lack of hardship preventing the installation of the required number of trees. The architect has since responded to Stephen with some landscape calculations that I think have alleviated that, and I'll let them share. The second variance, which involved a reduction in parking, was
Sorry, what was the vote on that second one?
that was unanimous approval.
Are there any questions for Drew from the commission? Any questions for Drew from the public? Is the applicant and their architect here tonight? Would you like to tell us about your project? Step forward.
revised site plan just to show that the street, the shade trees in the parking lot will be addressed on this as well. There was some confusion in the last presentation. It wasn't really shown very well, so you'll be able to see on the second page that we are handling the street trees. And so I can go over here and rest them. So yeah, as Drew mentioned, this was a problem that was not something that my client created. It just the shared parking agreement went away when the avenue was built. So it took away 41 parking spaces, which this was already a pretty busy center. It still is a very busy center. Everyone loves Wylands. The VOA is one of the best stores in not just the area, but like everywhere. They do great at that location. As it currently sits, the donation spot for the VOA ends up kind of clogging that the drive aisle, especially when trucks are coming around from the backside from deliveries. It just holds up everything when someone's parking there. The way that this was cut off from the previous, or from the avenue, there used to be able to drive through the two properties. Now that it just abruptly cut off, each one of the little fingers are just dead end parking areas that are very, very hard to navigate, especially if you're trying to get into that last spot on each row. So we basically came in to try to alleviate several problems at once. Unfortunately, the site is not large enough for us to get all the way back to where we were into full compliance. But what we've done is we've maximized our site design to, we were able to gain 21 more spaces to the site from where it currently exists right now. So again, we're not getting fully to the what would be considered the zoning code minimum, but we are making it better than what we've been handed. In the process, we're also eliminating all but 2 of those dead end little parking areas. There's still 2 up near the front that we can't really easily solve. And then as you can see from the upper left of the plan, we're also creating a better drive aisle for not only the public, but also for the trucks coming back around from the back side of the building to be able to come around into a much wider drive aisle with much nicer parking up against the VOA, with very deep parking spaces in that area as well for if people are dropping off from larger pickup trucks or U-Hauls. They have plenty of space to back into that and still not clog traffic through there. There's still plenty of space, so the trucks can get around anyone that's dropping off at the VOA and still make it back out to the traffic light there. So we were hoping to get more spaces, but this is what we were able to do and stay within the parameters of what the zoning allows for parking. In the process, we are also able to create a strip of grass between the 2 properties, which that's where we are able to add some more shade trees along that area. That was what some of the confusion was. We actually don't really need a variance for the trees. We will end up with 28 trees rather than the required 24. With adding, I think there's 9 along that strip of grass, and then we have some other new ones that we're also sprinkling in where we can to spread them out as much as possible. So that's pretty much what we got. Is there any questions, or you guys want to add?
Bill, do you have anything to add?
No, I mean, I'll be the first to tell. I mean, I think everybody in this room agrees. Getting in and out of there, it's not fun. Especially when they are very busy. And obviously, we had our former easement. We don't anymore. It's just, it is what it is. And anything we can do to improve parking to maximize the amount of tenants that go in and out of there. Wylands has been begging us for this. Volunteers America too. I mean, we really, those are 2 very beloved tenants in Clintonville. We take great pride in them, and anything we can do to assist them. But these improvements, I mean, we're not recouping anything on this, I mean, we're eating the cost of this, but we really wanna do this because we care about the center, we care about the community, we care about the tenants, and, you know, whatever we can do to help people get in and out of there faster, I think is gonna be very, very good for us.
Thank you. Are there any questions for the applicant from the commission?
What are the variances? Is it the parking or is it the trees now?
It's still the parking, because we can't quite get back up to the required amount, but we don't, we're not really requesting a tree variance, because we are able to get what we need.
We apologize for the confusion during the previous variance meeting.
So this trees for parking lot from 24 to 15 is moved.
Right, we're gonna actually have 28 by the end of it.
And just to clarify, the drop-off location for VOA has not changed.
Correct. The location is the same, we're just providing 4 very deep parking spots right at that location where they can back in.
You can pull in rather than come up parallel.
Right, yeah, you'd be backing in rather than parallel.
And we probably went through 20, 30 different versions of trying to figure out the best parking plan, and out of everything we could come up with, I mean, you know, we ultimately decided on this plan just because, again, it does maximize our amount of parking spaces, but also does allow for, you know, better access for, you know, people, you know, donating stuff over at DOA. That's a huge donation center for them. I mean, their operations in there is just, it's very impressive.
Question, the hot box location for the backflow, is that a future installation? Right now there is no backflow and you want a place to put it?
Yeah, with our other properties around Columbus, we know that a backflow is coming, and what I wanted to do was show that another, I guess, difficult thing about this site is the existing water meter is directly in that drive, and the city won't let you put a underground backflow, so it's going to have to go one side of the drive or the other, which is a problem because that's an access point, or it's actually the city water department's property. So what we did is we did talk to an engineer, and we think that's a very probable location of that, what we call hot box. So I wanted to show that on there so that we weren't surprising anybody. We're still yet to be in for permit with water department, but I think that's about the only place that we can put that.
Okay, great. Any other questions from the commission?
Mostly just makes for jury. I've got the BZA application here and just trying to make sure there's no confusion when I submit the form, depending on the vote passed.
So are you suggesting we vote on the resolution as it was submitted to us, or do we amend it with the omission of the trees because that's more of a point?
I'm just trying to figure out what will cause less confusion between us and the city.
If I may, I think adding in the comment section that we were informed that the trees will now be above the requirement will clarify things for council.
Yeah, I think we do it as a comment. Commissioner Morris.
I have a question. So there's extra bike parking, and I want to know if there's possibility to get more bike parking and what kind of bike parking you're putting in.
Yeah, I'm pulling it up here. So the site analysis there on the left, we do,
Actually, I think right
I
now.
think Mark's exact.
Yeah, I think right now we are actually at the required, let's see, yeah, the required is 12, and we actually already have the 12 on the site, so we're currently not adding anything new to what's there. But
I think it says that you're adding 4.
yeah, 12 existing and 4 new.
Also, all right, so my apologies there. So we actually went up above what's needed. They're typically just the upside down U spaces that we provide.
Of course, you can go above and beyond.
Yes, we've done that. Some of our other signs, when the need is expressed, we've actually done that. I don't think we've had any requests from Lionel or anybody for additional parking.
Often it works that if you build it, they will come. And now there's very few, there's at the pizza place, at Violence, and at the gym. But I think it will be good if there's more bike parking.
We'd be more happy to look at that.
Are there any questions from the public?
Just curious, do you have criteria for the trees? And what kind of trees are going in there and what are the criteria that you're trying to meet for those?
Criteria, like the types of trees that we're gonna
Types
put in?
of trees, size of trees?
Well, we will actually consult with the landscape architect to make sure that we put in something that we think will grow in each one of the spots. As far as, you know, some trees don't do as well in the smaller spaces, so we'll make sure that everything that we do is gonna be healthy and be able to, you know, to grow well in whatever type of space we have. Some of the little parking islands are a little small, so we'll consult with our landscape designer.
Hopefully the architect has a bias toward native trees.
Yeah, we always do try to make them native, but sometimes that doesn't, again, they don't always work well in those smaller spots, but yes, we will go down that path for sure.
Are there any other questions?
I have a question. Is this primarily just striping?
There'll be some islands that are indicated on there,
Okay.
but.
For the most part, it's largely striped.
Yeah.
And we're creating a couple new little curve areas in order to get a few more trees, so they're not all along that line. So as you come in at that angle, right before you kind of turn, we're creating a couple new little parking islands there, just to add some more green space and some more trees. So
I've always had concerns about that entrance at the light because there's that sort of big step up, and what I see happen there a lot is the ongoing traffic is expecting the cars to turn in quickly, and then they sort of hit that bump. And I've seen so many near accidents there, but that's why I was curious if it was sort of a repaving, if that couldn't be graded, but maybe a project for
Actually,
another
the
day.
part you're talking about is actually the city's curb.
Yeah.
And we actually aren't allowed to remove that.
Yeah.
That's in the right of way. The city, that's actually part of the street.
Any other questions from the public? Are we ready to vote then? And you're, Brian, you're comfortable with the amendment, and then on BZA 23-127, 3588, 3620 Union Avenue, shall the application be approved? Commissioner Morris?
Yes.
Commissioner Heidley?
Yes.
Commissioner Kroll?
Yes.
Commissioner Wilson?
Yes.
Commissioner White?
Yes.
Commissioner Piper?
Yes.
Commissioner Wyman?
Yes.
Chair abstains, motion passes. Thanks.
Thank you very much.
thank you very much.
The second item on the agenda is GC 23-040, 4910 North High Street. This is the Chick-fil-A in Valvoline. The applicant's attorney, Ms. Rebecca Mott, is here tonight, presented the project. It involves various sign variances for both the Chick-fil-A and the Valvoline. The variances relate to sign A2, which is an existing sign on Morris Road, which they intend to use. A new monument sign labeled A3, located on North High Street between the right in, right out in the northern edge of the property. And menu boards H1 and H2. Previous sign variances that were granted back in 2021 no longer apply because the parcels were combined. The applicant seeks to reuse sign A2 and add a new monument sign A3. During the committee meeting, there was discussion about, and we ultimately did modify the wording of the variances as they're shown here. We've circulated a revised variance list, which I'm sure Rebecca's got some copies that she can provide to you also. It's worth noting that these revisions that Ms. Mott has provided do not substantially alter the core issues that the committee initially voted on, or the concerns that the committee had. The concerns raised were about the necessity of signing A3, which is the one on North High Street, and its location. The applicant has since confirmed that sign A3 would be exclusively for Valvoline, which would be Valvoline's only sign on North High Street. Public comments at the committee meeting, most of them supported the proposed signs, citing traffic wayfinding and business considerations. Some members suggested alternative or even additional sign placements at Arbor Village Drive to the east, kind of citing, concern for drivers not knowing that they should turn on Arbor Drive. The committee ultimately recommended approval of the variances. The vote was 6-0 to 1.
Great, thank you. Are there any questions for Drew from the commission? Hearing none. Are there any questions from the public for Drew? The applicant's here. Could you present? Before you present, what I'd like to do is Drew touched on this. There were some revised variance languages, and I think you'll summarize those for us. But what we're considering tonight is slightly different in text from what the committee heard. I don't believe that it's a substantive difference, but I want to make sure there's consensus among the commission. There's no reason for us to refer this back to the committee because something's changed. It seems to me like it's a procedural update, and they were very forthright about what had changed, and they've kept us informed. So I think all the comments and review by the committee is still germane to the discussion. I just want to make sure everybody's clear about that. We'll proceed with the amendment and revision as you're describing the presented to us.
Great. I don't know if all of you want this big packet, but it does have all the signs that we're talking about. There's like 24 pages, so.
Well, if you don't give them to us, Jim Harbaugh's gonna steal them.
No, there's been a side update to the top sheet. The top sheet has been changed, and it will be the smaller size site plan that you see on the back of these. So this is the correct sign site plan, but all the other pages in that packet are correct. So the new site plan is on the back of that. The new site plan is on the back of this.
Sign. I just emailed you all the electronic versions in 4 minutes.
The new site plan. So you may have recalled back in 2021, I was here before you for the Chick-fil-A property in the Alberton site. They were two different sub-areas, Chick-fil-A to be built by North High. Valvoline is not shown here on a building footprint, but it's to the rear of the site along the Morrison Arbor Village Drive. At that time, we were going for a CPD district zoning. And if you do recall, there was a lot of momentum and discussion with the neighborhood group about preserving the sign at the corner. That was the former TJ's sign. So in that CPD text, we actually have graphics commitments for the TJ's sign in terms of its height can remain, its design can remain, all of its design features, aesthetics could remain even where it was located. The only thing different with it was the facing of it, and of course revamping it to make it look more like a modernized Chick-fil-A sign, but keep the historic features of it. That is in your packet. It's noted as the A1 sign. Every page has a little orange block at the bottom right corner of your page that says what sign we're talking about. So you can see that old sign is still consistent with the signs we showed you back then in 2021 for the A1 sign. Now, some of the variances that were obtained separately back in 22 for a graphics commission variance were done by a sign company who wasn't quite aware that these two parcels were going to be combined as part of the engineering process, final site compliance plan process that the engineers were working on. So the sign company didn't know what the engineering civil-wise was doing, and the engineers didn't provide the sign company with the proper plan. So that's why when they came in with their graphics variance before you in 2022 in the graphics commission, some of those things that dealt with off-premises sign would not have been related or applicable. But some of those variances they obtained are fine, and we need them, and they will remain. So if you look at your statement, for example, down here at the bottom at area variances, the two sections that I don't number, those are variances to remain. So if you take a look, the first one says, existing variance under GC 22-019, wall signs, to increase the sign area of a second frontage from 30 square feet to 58.75. That variance is fine and it can remain, but it was from the 22 graphics variance application. Also, I put the language down here that the CPD text had in it related to the A1 sign. So that sign said, it is approved as to existing structural features, dimensions, height, and size of the graphic for the former TJ's restaurant shall be preserved, and only the design, copy, and color shall change. And I list the ordinance number, and that variance will remain. So the new variances, all of these were before the zoning committee, but that night I noticed something. That again, our sign company site plan that you see the first page of your giant package, the 24, had some wrong setbacks indicated because the right-of-way is being taken. The right-of-way is being taken off Morse Road and North High Street. We're granting that by deed to the city of Columbus for all of these roadway improvements to accommodate the Chick-fil-A and Valvoline plus existing conditions at this intersection. Chick-fil-A is making those improvements, and you can see on the new site plan, there's a lot of like changes in the road. You can see turning lanes, arrows. You can see there's a lot more widened road. So we gave, I think it's 7.5 feet of right-of-way along Morse and 10 feet on North High. So because the sign company didn't realize in the last variance application, and even for my site plan that I had the first night, setbacks were needed for sign A3 and the ground sign A2. So I added those in that night. I didn't know the exact dimensions, but I really gave our team, from an applicant standpoint, flexibility and reduced them to like 2 or 3 feet to the right of way. That was voted on as a recommendation from your zoning committee. They've since changed. I have the accurate dimensions now. They're not quite so severe. They're not 2 and 3 feet from the right of way, but we'll go through that. So if we look at number 1, the first variance would be that in this UCO that is now over this entire site, where the UCO used to only affect the first part of the property, back in when we were doing this, the UCO was only applicable to the Chick-fil-A. It wasn't applicable to Valvoline. But with the UCO, those are where all of our variances are. They're from the code for urban commercial overlay standards. So that says that we can only have 1 ground sign per parcel, but we have 3. We have the A1 at the corner. We have the A3 monument sign at North High at the right in, right out in the northwest corner. And we have the A2 sign right there. That's an existing sign structure. We'd like to use that for Chick-fil-A and Valvoline. The blank panel will be Valvoline at the top, Chick-fil-A at the bottom for that sign. And that is located more towards the Valvoline side and where the drive-through is for Chick-fil-A. So we need a variance for having more than 1 ground sign. We will have a total of 3. The next variance, number 2, says that only a monument type sign is permitted in a district that has UCO attached to it. So we have 2 ground signs and only 1 monument sign. So the A3 monument sign is legally permitted as of right, but the other 2, the A2, which is an existing legal non-conforming sign, and the A1 that you've approved earlier in 2021 are not monument signs. They're just ground signs. So we need a variance for those 2 signs, A2 and A1 and A2, excuse me. The next variance, number 3, relates to, it's a strange standard. It talks about the base of a sign being integral to the principal buildings, like materials, elements, and the landscaping. In my opinion, in doing zoning work for a long time, that can only mean the base of a monument sign. The base of a monument sign is going to be compatible with the materials used on a principal building, and the only sign we have doing that is the A3 monument sign. The A3 monument sign has this bronze metal type color base, and that is a trim feature on the Chick-fil-A building. The Chick-fil-A building is like a cream brick, and it has this bronzy trim color. So that is a base that matches with the principal materials used on the building of Chick-fil-A. But the other two signs, the two ground signs, A1 and A2, don't have really a base that I would think is integral to the design of the buildings. So we'd like a setback for that, or I'm sorry, a variance for that. The number 4 item is the new one that I had to kind of add in at the last meeting with zoning committee, but it's related to setbacks for ground signs. And the setback from a right-of-way is supposed to be 15 feet, but now that the right-of-way takes on Morse Road and North High, the A2 sign would be set back 7.5 feet from the new right-of-way line, and the monument A3 sign would be set back 5 feet from the right-of-way. Now keep in mind your zoning committee voted on those being 2 feet and 3 feet, so we're better than 2 feet and 3 feet. But that is the precise dimension that we need. Number 5, the height of a ground sign shall not exceed 6 feet above grade. Of course, the A1 sign that you've approved before in 2021 far exceeds 6 feet. The monument sign, though, meets the 6-foot standard, so it's legally permitted. And then it's just this A2 sign that is exceeding the 6 feet by 23 feet 8 inches. So the variance is for the A2 ground sign, because I believe the A1 is approved by the CPD text. Under number 6, the menu boards shall not be located between a building and a street right-of-way line. Now, there's no dimension in the code for this standard. There's no like 6 feet or 7 feet or 15 feet. It's just, they don't want menu boards between the building and the right-of-way. But they have to be there. They're in the drive-through area. We don't have a lot of room. We have a right-of-way take going on. So those signs are located between the building and the right-of-way. And those are all of the variances to capture all approvals, all land use approvals for this Chick-fil-A and Valvoline site, so they can continue construction and quickly get these buildings up and start selling the chicken and having those oil change services on the property. So if I'm happy to answer any questions you may have, and thank you for your time.
Thanks, that was very thorough.
Thank
Are there
you.
any questions from the commission?
Yes, sir.
Technical question. So in the meeting minute, or meeting agenda, we had 706C1, 706C2, 706C3, 706C5, and 706B2. And so what needs to be added is 706C4 to the meeting agenda. And so I tried to put that in as best as my interpretation. Is that correct?
We, just so you know, from a procedural standpoint in the zoning committee, when I discovered the plan didn't have the setbacks and I quickly had to write it up, I think Drew can testify to this. I wrote up an actual amendment and we gave it to the zoning committee, they read it into the record, but since we've since modified the whole list and added them in chronological order, we did away with the handwritten amendment. So he went back to the original agenda item list, and I think this should supersede and replace your list, if that's okay.
If you have this electronically, can we essentially, what we'll vote on tonight is the area variances as they're presented on Exhibit B, and those are items 1 through 6 as they've been kind of described to us. Is that okay?
Yeah, that would be wonderful.
Okay, no, that is a good question. We want to be sure that we do that. And that's what you're asking.
Yes, that'd be wonderful, thank you. Yes, ma'am.
Good to see you again.
Thank you so much.
I know we've talked, it's been a while.
Yeah.
You might have just set Chick-fil-A up for the Historic Preservation Award by the Clintonville Historic.
Oh, great.
Because I think you've done some really good work with respect to preserving this. Even right down to that owl.
The owl.
Yeah.
I think that's amazing. Good job.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, I want to congratulate you. That I think was above and beyond. The owl has its fans. I may not be one of them, but I appreciate the attention to detail and doing that. That was something that we, I'm sorry that Commissioner Garrison, former Commissioner Garrison, was here to kind of enjoy the fact that he spent a lot of time trying to get this together, and it looks like it's finally.
I'll send it a photo.
Yeah.
That was awesome.
Much
Thank you so much.
Any other questions from the Commissioner?
I have 2 questions.
Sure.
The menu boards, as far as the lighting goes on those, that's facing the building, correct?
Let me take a look at my plans.
I guess it would be facing the car, yeah, so. I guess I didn't know if they had any sort of backlighting.
If we show the lighting, because we may not, if it meets code, they don't show the things, and then I don't need a variance for that. Let me see what we show. So H1 and H2 is kind of in the center of the package. They're not showing the lighting illustrations or details on this specification sheet, so it has to comply with code. We're not seeking any variances for the lighting.
Okay, my other question was, A2, we're removing the existing pylon. What's the reasoning that it doesn't also become a monument sign?
Okay, so a monument sign has to be 6 feet. It has a very structural base. It has to meet code in terms of square feet unless you're getting variance. Our monument sign look is A3 if you want to look at a monument sign. It's kind of down to the ground at grade. A pole sign sits up on a pole, doesn't have a base at grade. There's no stone or brick structure, so it's a pole sign. It's also a ground sign, but it's not a monument sign. And we'd like to keep that sign. We'd like to utilize that existing sign the way that this panel shows here in the center of the page for E2, and the Valvoline would be advertised on the top.
And that's just because the pole sign is.
It's there. It's existing. It's not a, it's a legal non-conforming sign they'd like to keep and just reuse it.
Okay. Thank you.
Any other questions from the commission? Which one?
It has nothing to do with the variances.
Okay.
Your handicap parking signs?
Handicap, what page are you on, please?
Is there a page number? It says K1, K2 at the bottom. Location K1, K2.
I'm gonna sit down to flip to it if you don't mind.
Page 14, Rebecca. Because I have PDF.
Oh.
There's no page number on it, but if you're counting manually, if it helps.
Show off.
Okay.
Could you please add the fine amount of $500, please?
Yeah,
That has to be on all handicap parking signs.
absolutely.
Thank you.
Let me make a note of it.
Are there any questions for the applicant from the public? Sandy, are we ready to vote? And we're voting on the items as they're presented on Exhibit B, items 1 through 6. So then on application GC 23-040, 4910 North High Street, shall the application be approved? Commissioner Morris?
Yes.
Commissioner Hyde, please.
Yes.
Commissioner Crowell?
Yes.
Commissioner Bolden?
Yes.
Commissioner White?
Yes.
Commissioner Piper?
Yes.
Commissioner Wyman?
Yes.
Chair abstains, the motion passes. Thanks very much for your time.
Thank you so much.
Next up is the Whetstone Thomas Park Roses Foundation. Please introduce yourselves and welcome.
Thanks, we appreciate it. I'm Liz Cabot, I'm the treasurer of the Columbus Park Roses Foundation. Karen Martins is the president of the Columbus Park Roses Foundation. We really appreciate the commissioners taking the opportunity. We know that you've discussed in the past major plans or plans going forward, capital budget plans for Whetstone Park. Since we are very invested in Whetstone Park, we wanted to share with you what we've done in the past and what our thoughts are for the future. And Karen's going to start us off.
So, the Columbus Park of Roses, we say it's a garden for all seasons, and it truly is a garden for all seasons because of the diversity of plants, trees, wildlife, and as a result, it offers beauty and something for everyone year round. You know, it's a peaceful setting. It's got over a mile of paved pathways, benches throughout the park for people to sit. And it's a respite for both local community and people throughout the world. I've met many as I walk over there frequently. So this is what we're going to cover briefly: an overview of the gardens, a brief history, the mission of the foundation, talk a little bit about the value of partnerships, and then leave some time for Q&A. So the garden has 5 features, 5 distinct gardens with different horticultural themes. And the first one is the formal rose garden, which was the original garden. And it is laid out in a symmetrical pattern, as those of you who visited probably know, and each bed has areas with distinct roses in one area, so you can tell those, and they're all labeled. It comprises the original plan for the Columbus Park of Roses that dates from 1953. We're 70 years old. We had a birthday this year. Covers 7 acres. We have approximately 7,000 floribunda, grandiflora, hybrid tea, climbing roses, and shrub roses. The Heritage Rose Garden has rose varieties that were cultivated before 1867. So they bloom basically once a year and are at the east end of the garden, and they're predecessors of many of the modern roses. The perennial garden, my personal favorite, has more than 100 varieties of perennials, bulbs, shrubs, trees, many of them native to Ohio. The herb garden also has over 100 variety of plants, and they're organized according to their usage, fragrance, and pollinator qualities. The backyard garden is a little bit newer, and it has perennials, bulbs, shrubs, trees, and it's designed really to give people walking through the gardens ideas they might use in their own homes, gardens. And of course, you may or may not know, but we're a certified arboretum. And it covers the entire Park of Roses, and we have more than 260 varieties of shrubs and trees. Just this year, we were upgraded to a level 2 arboretum because of our educational offerings. They provide a natural habitat for Ohio migratory birds. We have many collections. Among them are dogwoods, ginkgos, hydrangeas, a lot of different types. We've got a lot of different types of conifers, Japanese maples, witch hazels, and many other things too. So to quickly review the origin and the history of the Columbus Park of Roses, in 1944, the city purchased 149 acres, and that would become Whetstone Park. It had been part of a horse farm at one time, and during World War II, it was used as victory gardens. I met someone recently who told me that her family had a victory garden there. In the late 40s, the Columbus Rose Club and the American Rose Society partnered up, and they lobbied for a municipal rose garden. In 1951, the Columbus Rose Club, the Central Ohio Rose Society, and city officials, they formed a committee to plan this garden. And the city council issued bonds to fund the garden's development. They had stated objectives, and they were to be an additional point of interest for convention visitors, to draw tourists during the vacation season, to appeal to both the amateur and the professional garden, and to become one of the premier public rose gardens in the United States. In June 1953, the garden opened. And these are just two of the old pictures that we have. On the left, you can see there was originally a turnstile. I think it cost 25 cents to go see the garden at one point. And on the right, the aerial view, you can see this whole formal layout of the structure of the garden. And since 53 to the north, it's been developed into Ceramic Drive and Croswell Road. So the Columbus Park of Roses thrived really under the auspices, hang on for one back. They really thrived under the auspices of the Columbus Recreation and Parks Department, as well as two Rose Clubs, until in the 70s. There were fluctuating budgets that caused some difficulties, as well as weather issues. And then that is what gave rise to the formation of the Columbus Rose Foundation.
And now we can go on. Thanks. Just to talk about the Columbus Rose Foundation and what we do, we were founded in 1970. As Karen said, there were a couple really hard winters in the early 70s, and we lost 5,000 roses. You can't expect the city budget to be able to come up with money to pay for those roses. So the three founders of the Park of Roses Foundation came up with the money, made that so we could buy the 5,000 roses. They also recognized at that time that in times of shortfall like that, there was a need for a safety valve, the Columbus Park of Roses Foundation, in case there were similar issues in the future. So we're a 501c3. We have a board of directors, elected officers, have a mission statement, a 3-year strategic plan, annual budget. In our plan, very much like what you all do, is we make recommendations to the city in terms of capital budget expenditures for the future, another thing that links us with you all. I wanted to talk just a minute about the mission statements, how we live our lives. We provide support to assist the preservation, maintenance, and improvement of the Columbus Park of Roses and Arboretum. And the key word here is assist. We're not the Park of Roses. We're a nonprofit that supports the work of the city in the Park of Roses. So we are there for small projects, weeding, trimming, and for larger projects that either we think might be valuable and the city then approves, or they think might be valuable and come to us and we can partner on that. The foundation funds a part-time development officer, and that position works in collaboration with the city to raise funds, to get publicity, and those things always go through the city because we don't want to put something out that's just going to reflect back on the city negatively. We also manage volunteer programs. We've had this year over 100 volunteers across the 5 garden groups that Karen talked about. And we work with guidance from the supervisor of the garden who will point out what needs to be done at any given time. So we're there to support her. This year we spent over 2,700 hours in the garden, mostly doing weeding, mulching, trimming, the kinds of things that there's just not time to do. There's 1 3/4 staff people for 8,000 roses. So the volunteers are needed. Along with that, the foundation has a website, Facebook page. We update the kiosks in the Rose Park every month. Print, and I have them someplace, I will pass out brochures that talk about the park. On the website, there's a current list of all the roses that are there, all the shrubs that are there, and people can pull that up on their phone so it's easily accessible. Next slide. We talked about the volunteers as being indispensable. These pictures were clearly taken at the beginning of the volunteer section because people are not dirty and sweaty. But The volunteers are from all over the area. You think they just maybe be from Clintonville, but they're from Arlington, Worthington, and German Village, Dublin.
I see a District 9 resident. And her name's Rose.
Perfect, perfect. And they also are varying ages. We used to think it used to be a lot of retired people. Now, if people have flexible work schedules, that they can come to one of the daytime volunteer organization times. But if we have 2 evening times for people at work, so we get younger people at that time. And I think we can go on. Wanted to show you some of the things that the Columbus Park of Roses Foundation has funded. The picture on the left shows the fountain, which was in 2012 and 13 was renovated and re-engineered for water conservation. If you've seen it recently, it usually looks really pretty. The picture on the right, there used to be at the northwest entrance to the garden, there used to be a wooden arbor, and that was replaced several years ago with stone pillars, a beautiful iron fence. It doesn't show it here, but the iron fence is now covered with red climbing roses, so it's quite a beautiful area. Not shown here, but Karen showed it in one of her slides, is we redid the Earthkind Garden, which if you lived in Clintonville for a long time, you'll remember it as the Daffodil Garden. That would really date you well. And it is now redone and replanted as so visitors can see what might work in their yard. Now we can go to that. The top left shows a couple of benches. There are over 50 benches in the park. They were looking pretty ratty for a while. So Columbus Recreation and Parks, the garden supervisor power washed them. A group of maybe 6 volunteers put 2 coats of paint on every one of those benches over a 2-year period, and they're looking great now. Next below that is a beautiful new paver path through the herb garden. It looks nice. It also has room for dedications, so that's another advantage. To the right is the gazebo where lots of people take pictures, they meet friends for coffee. It was in not great shape, so it was sanded down, painted, and we had a new floor put in. Next slide. Those projects that we funded are in addition to the fact that we fund all the plant material in the park. So we buy the roses, we buy the perennials, we buy the herbs. So that was in addition to that. We really value partnerships. The biggest one obviously is with Columbus Recreation and Parks. We know, just as you have said in the past, that we need to get the word out more about the Park of Roses and how much to increase the usage of it. So we have partnered with Clintonville Spotlight, Central Ohio Garden Groups, OSU Extension Service has the Master Gardener Program, which helps us get volunteers, but also helps to promote the Park of Roses. We get really high rankings as from Columbus Monthly or 614 surveys that show that people value the Park of Roses as a park, and the Shelter House gets very high marks for being a wedding venue, usually in the top 1 or 2. The Civitan Club of North Columbus, as you know, hosts Sunday concerts. That brings people to the park and it's helpful. One of the things that gets most people to the park is the Shelter House. In 2022, there were 227 events in the Shelter House, bringing over 17,000 people to the park. So those 17,000 people don't just go to the wedding or the graduation or the family reunion. They go walk around the park and then they tell their friends about the park. So that's been just a great asset for us. We recognize, as you do, that we need to continue to improve, and I think we've made adaptations over the last 20 years, and we will continue to do that, and continue, if there are people have ideas, they can definitely let us know. And while we've presented some facts, I also want to let you know that both the board and 100 volunteers just loved this park. We believe that we're there every week and we talk to people in the park every single week. And whether the people are walking their dogs or meeting a family or having a picnic or there for a graduation, they love the park too. And I would hope that going forward that you all would see it as big an asset to Columbus and the area as we do. So thanks.
Are there any questions from the commission for either of the presenters? Mr. White?
I have a question. If someone wanted to make a donation or, honor a loved one on a placard, because I've always wondered that when I walk through the Park of Roses, I see the little in honor of and dedication of or something.
Right.
I always wondered how one goes about doing that.
Right. And I will pass out these brochures, which tell you how to do that also. And you can go on
our website has all that
the website. You can, and there are ways to dedicate a rose bed, and there's a fee for that, and then a $40 annual fee to keep up that rose bed. Or you can have a paver or things like that. And those things.
Sometimes people want trees.
Yeah, and we don't do trees anymore, I don't think, but I think that's maybe. But that's on the website, and Karen also posts, if you look at Facebook, which is also on here, is in the park most every day, and you'll see new Facebook posts very frequently. Thanks.
Just a comment, usually try to go to the park, probably in the summer at least, maybe once a week, once every 2 weeks. And so usually that's my when I'm trying to compare how my roses are doing, I go there and say like, okay, they're in bloom, why aren't mine?
Yeah, exactly.
Utilize it a lot.
Yeah. We have blogs on our website too, and our latest blog is Care of Roses at this time of year, because I know when I post anything on the Facebook page pertaining to roses, that gets the most hits. Yeah, so hopefully that'll be useful to people.
Any other questions?
I have just one more question.
Okay.
How do you keep the deer?
The same way you do at home. You have to spray. So it's liquid fence.
Yeah.
Okay.
I have had some success using decoy coyotes, decoy wolves.
Yeah.
Marvin's back there laughing because he's seen them in my yard. And deer scram. Deer scram really is quite effective. I went to Michael's and bought the little sachets, and I hung them up all over my pollinators, and
yeah.
In the perennial garden, we stopped planting tulips also.
Yeah.
Because it's deer candy. We used to have daffodils.
Are there things that you've introduced intentionally that are more deer resistant or?
Yeah.
I would be, if you made posts about that, I would be like sharing that like crazy.
Question in the back.
Yeah, I have a question. What do you find is the access that most people use? Is it at the shelter house or the road there up of near the church?
Yeah. I think really more people park in the big lot near the shelter house, but the accessible lot at the other end has been improved, and it's much better. If you have mobility issues, we really recommend the east entrance.
Well, I found that the smaller parking lot right off of High Street, I mean, sometimes I'll be driving down and I don't have anything to do. Oh, why don't I just go over and park the road?
Great, that's great.
Wonderful, tremendous asset.
Any other questions from the public? Thanks again for the presentation. It was educational for me. I enjoyed it. both short-term members here on the commission, but I think this is the first time we've gotten an update during my tenure. It was very informative. Deeply appreciated.
We're happy to provide any information
Absolutely.
going forward if you need it.
Yeah, very, very much appreciated. I think the only other agenda item is public comment. Are there any questions? Are there any opportunity for public comment? Does anybody have anything they'd like to say before we adjourn for tonight? I know Swid, we have a few pieces of paperwork to take care of. Yes.
I just have a question, since this was related, this discussion was related to a resolution. What's the status of that resolution?
The resolution passed last time. We signed it and sent it off to City Council and the Mayor's office. We have heard nothing back from them.
So what was the statement about the Park of Roses?
The statement was we were hoping that the city essentially would invest more in the park and look to effectively put some money into the shelter house and update it. It's been a while for it to be updated, and I think the capital cost is upon the city. It's not for the community to raise the money to improve the building or really do significant use of the building. I think the city has not invested as aggressively in maintaining that building as they should. And my hope is that if they do invest in it, it supercharges what you're doing there.
I think they did do some updates. I can't tell you the exact year, but they worked on the kitchen that's in there. And I think they have done some things maybe that you're not aware of. But
I think they put money into the building, but I don't think they've invested
as
much
as
they should. And my hope is that they'll pay more attention to the Park of Roses, pay more attention to the shelter house.
I think the revenue it gets from their, the revenue from that shelter house is quite high.
They brought in $120,000 in rentals last year, which is their most used facility. But any updates are great.
Yeah, you mentioned there were 227 events last year.
Right.
And what was the income did you say?
$120,000.
I think these were done, I remember Mayor Coleman was in the office when those were done. And my spouse did the HVAC design for the engineering firm that she worked for at that time. But it was a long time ago. Mayor Coleman was in the office. I just can't remember what year that was, but I remember the kitchen getting revamped.
Are there any other questions or comments from the public? If we don't have any, I think we're adjourned.
Actually, can I share one thing quickly? I don't know if anyone's aware, the city of Columbus is doing their zone in initiative, and they have an online survey up about the development of the public corridors. Sorry, I wasn't fast enough. But they're looking at things like density, housing, traffic, building height. The main public corridors are considered High Street, Indianola, Morris, Cleveland. But if you live in any of these areas, look up Zone in Columbus. They have active live meetings. I just attended one this week at the downtown library, where you can go in and comment on all of these different types of topic areas. You can also jump online and take a survey, but if you care about how High Street through Clintonville or any of the other areas are getting developed, please weigh in.
Yeah, we'll put a link to the survey on our website.
Also, if you could help put chairs away, that would be great.